obviously, like, hindsight is great. Do you reflect on any things you would have approached differently in terms of how you tried to break Sarries down?
There's a bit of reasonably strong breeze in the first half, so we had to carry that bit more. So you see some of the kicks that they were hanging, so we weren't getting a huge amount of distance on them. So, but then there's challenges with playing into that strong brick wall. But it's not something. It's something that we had talked about in the lead into the game. So we could have been a little bit more accurate in terms of some of our clean out work around the ruck. So again, that's just that little bit of edge. But again, I just thought we got a little bit spooked pretty much from the off and the kickoff. We don't quite deal with it, and Saracens score, and we struggle to get ourselves into the game. And we played right into their hands in many ways, and it's going back to that sort of mentality that they have, and we know they have it, that 3, 6, 9, 12, and we handed them those opportunities, and especially for Ellie Daly and those long ones, I thought he did well to slot them over from whatever 50 metres plus. So, but again, they're all things that we would have been conscious of in the lead into the game. So we still couldn't quite deal with it. Like Saracens, if you go through their team, they've a hell of a lot of top level experience, and they probably managed the big occasion better. Like, as in, it's a big occasion. I know there's no crowd here, but it's still a big occasion, and obviously we've had the distraction of semi-final and final over the last couple of weeks, and they had a very singular focus. These big games, it just comes down to small margins, and we didn't get enough right in the first half, and we dig ourselves into a pretty big hole. Again, I think the guys showed good character in the second half, but we couldn't do enough to get out of it.
Leo, is that the most frustrating aspect, that Sarries probably didn't do anything that you weren't expecting, but you still couldn't find out a way how to deal with it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's they have a power element to their team and to their game. So, and yeah, we couldn't do enough really. So that's the bit that we need to fix. That's the bit we need to fix for some of these big games against the top teams in Europe. So we got to the final, got beaten by Saracens. They've had some turnover players. I think people just assume that with turnover players that they wouldn't be left with much. But you go through their 1 to 15, they're still a very, very strong outfit with a hell of a lot of experienced guys that have been involved in a World Cup final at the start of the season or whatever, back in September, October time. So the guys have produced on the biggest stage before. So, and yeah, we just need to be better. We need to figure out how we can be better. We're not a million miles away. I think when we did stretch them and we test them, we just need to be that little bit more clinical and taking some of the opportunities, and not giving some of that easy access into the game that we've given them. So, yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, last year I thought we started that the first 35 minutes of the game we handled it pretty well in Newcastle and get ourselves in that situation where we're the ones 10-0 ahead. But we probably didn't manage that period just on half time, and then even at the start of the second half we had a lot of opportunities where we didn't quite nail them. Whereas we get spooked by some probably uncharacteristic errors at the very start of the game. So and then we don't quite get ourselves back into the game at any point. Well, we do get ourselves back into the game, but it was we just couldn't continue that positive momentum we had probably at around 60-minute mark.
You touched on the scrum there. I mean, can you just give us an idea? What was your impression of what was going on? What was said at half time? Do you think it was an interpretation thing or what?
A little bit, yeah. Like, they load up a lot of weight, locks are on their knees, and so any team that has that, there is that weight. You see some of the collapses is quite often is due to the fact that they don't have stability. So, and there's the axis as well, the scrum, where you see so we're getting penalised for our loose head, kicking his hips out, and like another day you can argue that it's their loose head is the one that instigates that movement. So again, this is me just making some assessments here. But it plays a huge part in the game, obviously. But again, we'll look back on all those, and we just need to be a bit smarter how we manage some of that, because we can't. It's very hard to win games off the back of giving away whatever amount of penalties that is in that facet of the game.
Leo, there's a bit of talk about the box kicking game from Munster a couple of weeks ago and how they did it too much, but the Saracens seemed to get a good bit of joy out of that today, I thought.
Yeah, it was different. I think when you're box kicking, when you're 22-3 ahead or whatever it is, even 22-17 ahead, we know that that's what they're going to do. So yeah, and yeah, they're good. And like we've talked all before, they're a very hard team to chase the game against because of that very reason. Obviously, the Munster game is slightly different because they were the ones chasing the game, and we were just able to deal with that threat at the time. So, but yeah, it's cup rugby games, isn't it? Like it's classic cup rugby, pressure game, set piece, dominance, which I think they clearly edged that side of the game. And off the back of that, then it's once you've got a lead, it's making sure it's for them. It's about making sure that they get into the next round, isn't it, to the semi-final? So if you've got a lead, you're trying to protect it at all costs. The problem was for us, we obviously were chasing the lead. So we brought on some guys off the bench. I thought they added good impact. We wanted to have some of those guys on the bench because, if we get in that situation, I think it was important to have that kind of ball carrying ability. The likes of Ronan, Ryan Baird, Josh Van der Flyer, what they give us. So, but as we said earlier on the piece, unfortunately, it was a little too late.